There is a misconception deeply rooted in society that women are stronger when they are endlessly soft, endlessly forgiving, endlessly accommodating. This idea has been passed down through generations, taught in subtle ways, reinforced by culture, tradition, and even the stories we grow up hearing. Women are told that their worth is tied to how much they can endure silently, how much they can give without expecting anything in return, and how much they can sacrifice for the sake of relationships. But there comes a moment when this illusion needs to be broken, when women must recognize that constantly being soft is not the same as being strong. Strength is not about being a cushion for the world's weight. Strength is not about breaking yourself apart just to keep others whole. Strength is about knowing where to draw the line, understanding your worth, and defending it unapologetically. When boundaries are absent, life becomes an endless cycle of pleasing others, bending to fit into their needs and silencing your own voice. This is not strength, it is surrender. A woman who lacks boundaries becomes vulnerable to manipulation, disrespect, and exploitation. And the harsh reality is, the more you allow yourself to be endlessly soft for others, the more they begin to expect it, and soon it is no longer appreciated but demanded. That is why boundaries are not optional, they are essential. They are the invisible walls that protect your energy, your peace, and your self-respect. Boundaries are a reflection of self-love. They are not about being cold or distant. They are about recognizing that your soul, your time, and your emotions are valuable. Think of boundaries as the guardrails on a mountain road. Without them, a vehicle could slip off the edge and crash into destruction. Boundaries keep your life from spiraling into chaos. They keep you aligned with your values, and they ensure that you are not giving away pieces of yourself until nothing is left. Being strong doesn't mean you let people cross every line. Being strong means you are brave enough to draw the line and hold it firm. A woman with boundaries understands the power of no. She doesn't see it as rejection, but as protection. She doesn't use softness as a shield, she uses clarity as a weapon. Saying no to the wrong people, the wrong situations, and the wrong demands doesn't make her less compassionate. It makes her wise, because every time you say no to something that drains you, you are saying yes to your own growth, your own peace, and your own future. Too often, women confuse kindness with weakness. They are told to always be agreeable, always be smiling, always be patient, and always be giving. And while kindness is a virtue, when it is applied without boundaries, it becomes dangerous. It leads to a life where your energy is consumed by those who only take and never give. It creates a reality where your heart is exhausted from carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. True strength lies in balancing kindness with firmness. It lies in being compassionate without being exploited. It lies in giving, but only within the limits that preserve your well-being. Boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. They protect you from being drained by people who do not respect your worth. They prevent your dreams from being suffocated by the expectations of others. They remind the world that you are not available to be molded, used, or broken. And the beauty of boundaries is that once you establish them, people either learn to respect them or remove themselves from your life. And both outcomes are victories. There is power in realizing that you do not need to be available for everyone. You do not need to be soft for everyone. Not every man deserves your patience. Not every relationship deserves your forgiveness. Not every situation deserves your sacrifice. Sometimes, the most powerful thing a woman can do is to close the door, walk away, and protect her spirit. That act of courage, that refusal to bend, is where real strength is born. Strength is not about being unshakable in the face of pain. It is about refusing to allow pain to define you. It is about knowing that your softness has value, but it is not owed to everyone. It is a gift, and only those who respect you deserve to experience it. The moment you start treating your softness as a treasure instead of a burden, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to see that strength is not in how much you can endure silently, but in how boldly you can protect yourself from being diminished. Think about the countless women who have poured their entire being into others, only to be left empty, forgotten, or dismissed. They gave endlessly, thinking their softness would earn love, respect, and loyalty, but what they received instead was neglect and exploitation. This is not the fault of softness itself, but the absence of boundaries around it. Softness without limits is a weakness that others exploit. Softness with boundaries, however, is a force that commands respect. To be truly strong, a woman must learn the art of balance. She must know when to open her heart and when to guard it. She must know when to give and when to hold back. She must know when to nurture and when to walk away. This balance is what creates unstoppable power. It is what separates a woman who bends for the world from a woman who stands tall and unshakable. Strength does not mean being harsh or cold. It does not mean losing compassion or shutting down your emotions. It means having the wisdom to know where your softness belongs. It means reserving your energy for those who uplift you rather than those who drain you. It means protecting your heart so that it beats strong enough to lead you toward your dreams. The world often misunderstands boundaries. It calls them selfish, arrogant, or unkind. But in truth, boundaries are acts of self-respect. They are declarations that say, I am valuable, I am worthy, and I will not allow myself to be treated otherwise. And when a woman starts living with that declaration, she becomes untouchable. She no longer fears losing people because she understands that anyone who cannot honor her boundaries was never meant to stay. Strength is not found in how much pain you can tolerate, but in how fiercely you can protect your joy. It is not found in how many times you bend, but in how firmly you can stand. And it is not found in being endlessly soft for every man who demands it, but in knowing that your softness is not a currency to be spent. It is a jewel to be cherished by those who are worthy. The most dangerous woman is not the one who never cries, never loves, or never feels. The most dangerous woman is the one who knows her limits, who honors her boundaries, and who refuses to be broken by the expectations of others. She is the one who is unafraid to say no, unafraid to walk away, and unafraid to demand respect. Her strength is not in her silence but in her voice, not in her compliance but in her refusal, not in her endless softness but in her unapologetic boundaries. When a woman finally embraces the power of boundaries, everything changes. Relationships shift, opportunities open, and peace becomes her constant companion. She is no longer drained by those who never pour back into her. She is no longer consumed by the fear of disappointing others. She is no longer trapped in cycles of giving until she is empty. Instead, she becomes full, radiant, and unstoppable. Her strength is not fragile, not conditional, and not dependent on anyone else's approval. Her strength is hers, rooted in self-respect, protected by boundaries, and unshakable in the face of the world. From the very beginning, women are often taught that their worth is measured by how much they can give away. They are told that sacrifice is noble, that selflessness is the highest virtue, and that love and approval can only be earned by putting others before themselves. And so, generation after generation, women learn to wear sacrifice like a badge of honor. They stay silent when they should speak, they carry burdens that don't belong to them, and they give pieces of themselves until there is almost nothing left. But what no one tells them is that living for validation through sacrifice is a prison, one that robs them of their true power and blinds them to their real worth. Sacrifice, when it comes from a place of love and balance, has its beauty. Giving to those you cherish, supporting those who value you, sharing your time and energy with those who honor it, that is meaningful. But when sacrifice becomes the currency for validation, it turns toxic. It transforms from an act of choice into an act of desperation, a constant chase to prove you are good enough, worthy enough, lovable enough. This kind of sacrifice is not strength, it is self-erasure. Every time a woman sacrifices her dreams to meet someone else's expectations, every time she silences her truth to avoid conflict, every time she puts herself last to win the approval of those who never see her value, she chips away at her own identity. And what's worse is that the validation she seeks is temporary at best. No matter how much she gives, it is never enough. The goalposts always move. Today it may be her time, tomorrow her energy, and the next day her entire self-worth. Validation built on sacrifice is a hunger that is never satisfied. There is a dangerous illusion that the more you give, the more loved you will be, but the reality is, people who truly love and respect you will not demand that you sacrifice yourself endlessly. They will not measure your worth by how much you can endure. They will not expect you to shrink so that they can grow. Love that requires you to lose yourself is not love at all, it is control. And when you start seeking validation through this endless cycle of giving, you hand over your power to those who will never honor it. The truth is that worth cannot be earned through sacrifice. Worth is not something you gain by exhausting yourself for others. Worth is not a reward you receive for being endlessly giving, endlessly forgiving, endlessly available. Worth is inherent. It is within you from the moment you are born. It does not need validation, it does not need approval, and it certainly does not need to be proven through self-destruction. The day a woman understands that her worth is not tied to how much she sacrifices is the day she begins to live free. Seeking validation through sacrifice also creates a dangerous cycle of dependency. A woman learns to associate her identity with being needed, and she begins to fear that without her constant giving, she will lose her value. She feels guilty for putting herself first, guilty for saying no, guilty for choosing rest over service. And that guilt keeps her trapped, forcing her to keep giving more, even when she is exhausted. This cycle only benefits those who take advantage of her. They continue to receive, while she continues to lose. But what if she realized that her value exists even when she does nothing? That her worth does not decrease when she chooses herself? That her validation does not come from how much she sacrifices, but from how unapologetically she stands in her truth? The most powerful women are not the ones who give until they break. They are the ones who give from a place of fullness, not emptiness. They are the ones who choose their sacrifices wisely, ensuring that every act of giving comes from love, not from fear. They are the ones who understand that saying yes to themselves is just as important as saying yes to others. They are the ones who refuse to measure their worth by how much pain they can endure for the sake of someone else's comfort. There is nothing selfish about putting yourself first. There is nothing arrogant about protecting your peace. There is nothing wrong with choosing your dreams over someone else's demands. For too long, women have been told that selflessness is the ultimate goal, but selflessness without balance leads to emptiness. A woman who gives everything away has nothing left for herself, and eventually nothing left to give the world. But a woman who honors her worth, who protects her energy, who refuses to chase validation through sacrifice, she becomes unstoppable. She gives not because she needs to be validated, but because her soul is full enough to share. It takes courage to break free from the chains of sacrifice. It takes courage to say, I am enough exactly as I am, without proving it through suffering. It takes courage to disappoint those who expect you to give endlessly. It takes courage to risk losing people who only value you for what you can do for them. But that courage is what sets you free. Because once you stop seeking validation through sacrifice, you start seeking validation from within. You stop chasing approval outside of yourself and start creating it inside yourself. And that is the kind of validation no one can take away. Imagine the power of a woman who no longer defines herself by how much she can give away. Imagine the strength of a woman who does not beg for love by sacrificing her needs. Imagine the beauty of a woman who refuses to measure her worth in the eyes of those who never deserved her sacrifices in the first place. That woman becomes a force of nature. She loves without fear, she gives without losing herself, and she stands tall in her own worth. She no longer chases validation because she already knows she is enough. Validation through sacrifice is a lie designed to keep women small. It teaches them that they must break themselves in order to be whole, that they must diminish themselves in order to be seen, that they must give everything to be worthy of anything. But the truth is the opposite. A woman becomes whole when she refuses to break for anyone. She becomes seen when she shines without apology. She becomes worthy not through sacrifice, but through self-acceptance. Every woman has the power to stop the cycle, to stop giving until she is empty, to stop silencing her voice for the sake of peace, to stop chasing love through pain. Every woman has the right to stand in her worth, to honor her needs, to protect her dreams. And when she does, she becomes more than enough, not because she sacrificed herself for validation, but because she finally realized she never needed validation to begin with. There is something extraordinary about a woman who refuses to shrink herself to fit into the small spaces the world assigns her. She does not apologize for her voice, she does not tone down her brilliance, and she does not compromise her dreams for the comfort of others. Instead, she steps fully into her power, unafraid of how her strength may intimidate, unafraid of how her success may disrupt expectations, unafraid of how her courage may unsettle those who benefit from her silence. That kind of woman is unstoppable, and when she rises, she does not rise alone. She inspires countless others to rise with her. The energy of an unstoppable woman is contagious. Her determination lights a spark in those who have been taught to dim their own light. Her boldness creates space for others to be bold. Her resilience becomes proof that no obstacle is permanent, no failure is final, and no limitation is unbreakable. She does not simply live for herself. She becomes a living reminder that change is possible, that strength is accessible, and that greatness is within reach. When a woman chooses to live without apology, she challenges centuries of conditioning. For too long, women have been told to be modest, quiet, and agreeable. They have been told that leadership is not their role, that ambition is unattractive, that power belongs to someone else. And yet, when one woman defies those narratives and rises anyway, she breaks not only her own chains, but also the invisible chains that bind others. She becomes an example, not through perfection, but through authenticity. Her very existence as an unstoppable force whispers to others, "You can do it too." Change begins with a single act of courage. Sometimes it is as small as speaking up in a room where silence is expected. Sometimes it is as bold as stepping into spaces where women have long been excluded. And sometimes it is simply refusing to give up, even when the odds are stacked against her. Each time a woman chooses courage over fear, she opens the door wider for the women who will come after her. Each time she chooses resilience over surrender, she proves that barriers are not immovable. They are only temporary. An unstoppable woman is not defined by her circumstances, but by her response to them. She may face criticism, but she does not let it break her spirit. She may encounter rejection, but she does not let it define her worth. She may stumble, but she always rises again. What sets her apart is not that she never falls, but that she refuses to stay down. And in rising, she gives others permission to rise as well. She shows them that resilience is possible, that failure is not the end, and that strength can be found even in the most difficult moments. The world has always been transformed by those who dared to live boldly, and women who embrace their power have always been catalysts of that transformation. When a woman becomes unstoppable, she is no longer just living for herself. She is rewriting narratives, challenging systems, and reshaping possibilities for everyone who watches her. She is not only a role model, but also a mirror, reflecting back the hidden strength in others. People look at her and see their own potential staring back at them. Unstoppable women inspire change because they show what happens when limitations are refused. They prove that success does not require permission, that dreams do not need validation, and that power does not need to be granted. It needs to be claimed. They remind the world that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to be controlled by it. And once a woman refuses to be controlled by fear, she cannot be controlled by anything at all. Every act of courage from an unstoppable woman creates a ripple effect. A young girl sees her and learns that she can dream bigger than what society tells her. A woman struggling with self-doubt sees her and finds the strength to believe again. A man who once underestimated women sees her and begins to unlearn his biases. Change does not always happen in grand gestures. It often begins quietly, with inspiration that spreads like fire until it can no longer be ignored. It is not about being perfect, because perfection is an illusion. It is about being authentic, showing up as you are, and daring to keep moving forward no matter what. Authenticity inspires more change than perfection ever could. People are not inspired by someone who never struggles. They are inspired by someone who struggles but keeps going anyway. They are not moved by someone who pretends to have all the answers. They are moved by someone who admits the challenges yet chooses not to be defeated. That is the essence of an unstoppable woman. She is real, and her reality makes others believe in their own possibility. There will always be resistance. There will always be voices telling women to stay small, to stay quiet, to stay soft. There will always be those who feel threatened by women who rise. But unstoppable women do not rise to be accepted. They rise because they cannot do anything else. Their spirit will not allow them to stay in cages. Their dreams will not allow them to settle for less. Their determination will not allow them to blend into the background. And because of that, they do not just change their own lives. They shift the course of history for others as well. Think about the countless women who once doubted themselves until they saw someone else refuse to back down. That spark of inspiration can change everything. It can mean the difference between silence and speaking out, between staying hidden and stepping forward, between giving up and holding on. Inspiration is not a small thing. It is the seed of revolution, and every unstoppable woman plants that seed, often without even realizing it. The most powerful inspiration does not come from speeches or declarations alone. It comes from action. It comes from seeing someone walk the path that others said was impossible. It comes from witnessing someone push through obstacles that seemed unmovable. It comes from observing someone live with such courage and authenticity that it makes you question your own limitations. And that is why unstoppable women inspire change. They embody the possibility of what life can look like when you refuse to bow to fear, doubt, or limitation. Every woman has the potential to become unstoppable. The fire already exists within. It is only waiting to be ignited. The world may try to dim it, circumstances may try to smother it, and voices may try to silence it. But once it is unleashed, it cannot be contained. And when that fire burns, it does not just light up her own path, it illuminates the path for others. That is the true power of an unstoppable woman. She does not rise alone, she carries others with her. In a world that often underestimates women, being unstoppable is the ultimate rebellion. It is a declaration that says, I will not be defined by your expectations. I will not be limited by your doubts. I will not be confined by your rules. And when that declaration is lived out loud, it becomes a source of strength for everyone who witnesses it. It shows them that change is not only possible, but inevitable. The beauty of an unstoppable woman is that she does not seek to dominate others, she seeks to liberate them. Her power does not come from controlling those around her, but from freeing herself from control, and in freeing herself, she gives others the courage to do the same. She proves that chains are meant to be broken, ceilings are meant to be shattered, and limits are meant to be exceeded. Her life becomes a living example of what it means to be free, and that example is powerful enough to transform those who come after her. Every unstoppable woman is a beacon. She shines not only for herself, but for everyone who feels lost in darkness. Her light reminds others that they too can endure, they too can rise, they too can create change, and as more women embrace this unstoppable spirit, the collective power grows stronger. One woman can inspire a handful can inspire hundreds, and hundreds can inspire generations. That is how unstoppable women change the world, not by standing alone, but by lighting the way for others to join them.